What's up, Stitches? My name is Michael and welcome to or back to my YouTube channel. In this festive video I'm going to be showing you how I made this gorgeous Christmas tree bunting. It's only a small one, but you can make it longer if you want to. This video is going to give you a brief overview of how I did it. If you want a more detailed and printable PDF version, that is available on my Patreon. The link will be in the description. And I'm going to be doing a couple more videos showing you how I made this little wreath and a couple more decorations. So if you're looking forward to that, then do subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss my uploads. And if you like this little bunting, then give this video a like. As always, I have my Instagram where I've been posting a few updates. I have got a call for testers out at the moment on my Instagram, so check that out at @SmichaelGoesKnitting. And yeah, enough of me talking, let's get into the video. The techniques you'll be using for this are knit, slip one knitwise with yarn in front, I-cord, long tail cast on, knit two together, and backwards loop cast on. The materials you'll be needing are 4mm needles, preferably circular so you can do I-cord, Aran yarn, I chose the colour green because I have that colour, scissors, and a tapestry needle. So to start with, you want to use the long tail cast on, and first you want to decide how many stitches wide you want to be, how big you want your Christmas trees to be, and then just cast on that number of stitches. I would advise that you cast on an even number of stitches because it makes the steps later a bit easier to work out. The first row is going to be different to all the other rows, but you want to start off by slipping the first stitch knitwise with the yarn in front as if to purl, and then you want to knit all of the stitches left on the left hand needle. Now the second row is something that you're going to repeat quite a lot, so you want to start again by slipping the first stitch knitwise with yarn in front, knitting until there are 2 stitches left on the needle, and then you want to knit those 2 stitches together, like so. Then you want to repeat that row again and again until the number of stitches you have at the start of a row is equal to half of the number of stitches that you cast on. So if you casted on 10, you would continue this until the number of stitches at the start of the round is 5. So here's a quick shot of what the sides should look like because of the stitches that we slipped, and this is what it will start to look like when you get to half the stitches. So at this point you will then need to increase the stitches to do the kind of middle section. So to increase the stitches, what you're going to do is you're going to knit the row as you did before, slipping the first stitch, knitting until 2, knitting 2 together, and then at the end you're going to be casting on 1/4 of the number of stitches that you casted on earlier. So again, that's why it's nice to have a nice even round number. So if you casted on 20 at the start and then you went down to 10, you then want to cast on 5 stitches here at the end of this row. And then for this next row, you want to make sure that you're not slipping the first stitch because it's not very structurally sound. So you just want to knit all of the stitches until you get to 2 left on the left hand needle. Then you want to knit those 2 together and again cast on the same number of stitches you cast on the other side so it's all symmetrical and even. And again the same goes for this row. You want to start off knitting all the stitches until there are 2 left on the needle because you don't want to slip that first one because it just won't end up looking nice. So you knit until there's 2 stitches left on the left hand needle, then you knit those 2 together, then you turn. And this is the kind of shape that you should have on your needle. And so you want to again knit in the same way you were before you increase the stitches, so slipping the first stitch, knitting until there's 2 stitches left, and then knitting those 2 stitches together. And you want to do this until you have half of the number of stitches that you cast on minus 2. So that's when you want to do the next lot of increases, just so it has like a little bit of a taper to the Christmas tree and it's not all kind of one chunk in the middle. Then this row is going to be another increase row. So again, you start off by slipping the first stitch, knitting until there's 2 stitches left, knitting those last 2 stitches together, and then using the backwards loop cast on method, you then want to cast on a smaller number of stitches than you cast on before. So if you did a particularly big Christmas tree, maybe do 2 or 3 fewer than you cast on in the middle section. If you're doing a particularly small one, then maybe 1 or 2 fewer than the middle section. Just see how it goes and what you like. And again, as before, knitting that first stitch after the increases, knitting all of the stitches thereafter until you have 2 left, and then knitting those 2 together, and again casting on the same number of stitches as you did on the other side. And again, making sure you knit that cast on edge so you're not slipping it, otherwise it will all look a bit weird. Knitting until there's 2 left, and then knitting those 2 together. And then from there you want to continue as you were doing before, slipping the first stitch of the yarn in front, and then knitting until there's 2 left, and then knitting those 2 together again. And you want to continue this until there's only 3 stitches left on the needle. Now you want to slip that first stitch as you have before, and then knit those 2 stitches together. And then for the final 2 stitches, you just simply want to knit those 2 stitches together. Now that you've done this, we're going to be finishing this off a little different to how you would normally finish off pieces once they've been bound off. You want to snip the yarn, leaving quite a bit of tail. And then using your thumb and index finger, you want to put that through the loop and then pinch the tail and pull it through so it makes a slip knot rather than pulling it all the way through. You're only pulling it to about halfway, so there's a bit of a slip knot there, and you can make it bigger and smaller. And that's what we're going to be using to hang the tree onto the I-cord. Now you can make as many trees as you want to put this on the bunting. What is important to do though is not to weave in the ends at the top, because that's how it attaches that to the I-cord. You can feel free to weave in the ends at the bottom. I just thought I'd do it all together at the end. For the I-cord, it's a very simple 3-stitch I-cord. I start off by using the knitted cast on and just casting on 2 more stitches alongside the slip knot. Now to get it all started, you want to slide these 3 stitches to the other end of the cable needle. You can also do this double pointed needles, I just don't use them. So now the working yarn should be coming from the leftmost stitch, and that's how you want it. And now you're just going to knit those 3 stitches, pulling the working yarn slightly tighter as it is kind of bringing it all round together. If you've not done I-cord before, you may find it a bit fiddly to get used to, but once you get into the flow, it's very easy. And then once you've knit those 3 stitches, you want to slip those 3 stitches back onto the left hand needle. So again, the working yarn is coming from the leftmost stitch. Then you're just going to repeat this over and over and over and over and over again until the I-cord is the length that you want it to hold the Christmas trees on. To bind off the I-cord, you want to use the simple standard bind off method where you knit 2 stitches, pass the first stitch over the second stitch, knit the third stitch, and then you want to pass the second stitch over the third stitch. Then breaking the yarn and pulling that through the loop to secure the end and leaving a bit of a tail so that it can be weaved in. Now you can start to place your trees on the garland. I generally start off by just putting them all on there, and then I can space them out appropriately once I've got them on there. Now that all of the trees are on the I-cord, you can now decide how far apart you want them. So I am looking at having them about 6 inches apart from each other. So because the loops are still quite loose, I am going to slide them along until they're in position. Once they're in position, I pull the tail of the yarn leading to the loop to secure them in the right place so they don't go moving along while I'm trying to do everything else. And you just want to continue and do that for all of the Christmas trees. Now it's time to weave in the ends. What you want to do is locate which side is going to be the back. Generally, I work that out by seeing the tail from the cast on edge. If it's on the left, then that's the back of the work. And now you just want to thread the needle of the loop on top that's connecting it to the I-cord, and then you just want to go through and weave it in as you normally would. So what I tend to do with the garter stitch is I kind of pick a row and then just go under the stitches in kind of the same way, so up through, and then just kind of weave in the ends, whichever way is best for you. It's not really going to be on display because it's the back, and you just want to do that, and then you want to do the same for the bottom. Then you want to continue to weave in all the ends until you are finished, and then it should look a little something like this. And there we have it! Your very own little Christmas tree bunting or garland or whatever you want to call it. One thing I do want to say is you can customise and decorate these. You can create little pom-poms and hang them on the little tree branches, and you can like sew yarn like diagonally across to make tinsel. It really is up to you. I've not done any of that because I do just prefer the simple green little, what are they called? Pine trees? Pine trees? I might be wrong. Let me know which one it is. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, I am going to be doing a few videos on different handmade knitted Christmas decorations, such as this little wreath here. I do also have a mistletoe, so if you are interested in any of those decorations, subscribe so you don't miss them. They'll be coming in the next few weeks. And like I said, if you want a proper written pattern with numbers and everything, then do head on over to my Patreon. Anyone from Merino Lamb and above can just have those all there available to you, and all the other little patterns that I put on, like my Among Us crewmate, which I don't know where he is, but there's Suspicious. We haven't said hi to Suspicious today. Apologies, Suspicious. So rude of me. As I said before, if you liked this video, do give me a like. If you want to see any other knitted Christmas decorations, do let me know. It takes a while for me to kind of figure out how to knit them, so bear with me. There's only a couple of weeks till Christmas, but if you give me your requests, then I'm sure I can do something about it. As I said earlier, I have my Chonky scarf, which is going to need testers. It is an advanced beginner level knitting, so anyone around that level wants to apply, then do check out my Instagram. Also, you can apply via my website, I'll link that down below. To test, the deadline will be the 10th of January. The deadline to apply is the 11th of December, so you've got a couple of days. So apply if you want to. If not, that's cool. I will have that pattern coming early on in the new year, so look forward to that. And I don't know if you could tell, but my lighting came. It looks a lot better now, which I'm very happy about. But that's enough of me just rambling at you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Stay wholesome and happy knitting. Quick editor's update. Next week's video won't actually be the wreath. I've actually been advised to abstain from knitting due to a suspected repetitive strain injury, so I'm not going to be able to knit that for next week. So next week's video will actually be me talking about everything I've knit in 2020, so look forward to that.